break, but I'm going to start on a fairly huge headline that came about, I don't know, 2 hours or so before I was expecting it to maybe pop on Saturday night, and that is Dusty May going to Michigan. Now, normally I would be tournament first, tournament second, tournament third. However, Dusty going to Michigan when a lot of people thought he was going to go to Louisville, that registers as a very, very big headline that will catalyze some movement on the carousel over the next 24 to 48 to 72 hours. So we'll hit on Dusty May real quick here first. We'll eventually do a coaching carousel episode on the pod, as we always do, and kind of break down a bunch of stuff that'll be coming later. But Dusty May is as big of a headline as anything in the tournament on Saturday. David Cobb, thanks for joining me on the pod here. What is your reaction, your immediate thoughts on Michigan landing its man and pulling Dusty May away from FAU?
Yeah, man. Kudos to you for going toe to toe with Woj on the breaking news there. That's never an ideal scenario.
Well, real quick on that. Credit to Woj, he did get it out first. I was literally talking on CBS Sports HQ about NC State holding off against Oakland, and I got a call from a source, and so I lost about 2.5 minutes there. So all too happy to have. We broke it down for a good 10 minutes on HQ. But I appreciate the nod there. There could not have been a worse moment to receive that phone call than when I was in the middle of a segment talking on television. But nevertheless, here we are, Dusty to Michigan. Give me your thoughts.
Well, like, one of the reasons I like covering college basketball as opposed to the NBA, which I did previously, is because college basketball news is actually broken by more than like 3 people. There's actually a lot of people who break news in college. So I'm like, whoa, just go back to the NBA, man. But anyway, no, my first thought was, why Michigan? Because the idea, right, is that you're Dusty May, you have options. And I look at Michigan, I reflect on Caleb Love not getting into school there. I reflect on Hunter Dickinson leaving there because he maybe didn't feel like they were a serious enough basketball program. But here we have Dusty May very much affirming Michigan by saying, hey, I could go to a number of jobs, and I'm going to go to the Michigan job. And so I'm just kind of curious from your standpoint, why Michigan?
Here's my understanding of this, and I'll try and, again, we're going to try and be quick on the Dusty stuff here. Not try and GP up this first segment. Yeah, buddy, I went there. We're going to try and keep it quicker. I did obviously see Dusty May. I'm in Stanford here at HQ, our HQ studios here, but I was at the tournament in Brooklyn on Friday, and I'm going back in the morning to cover the second round there. So I interviewed Dusty for HQ after the loss. I asked him for a timeline. He didn't give one. And then in checking in with sources Saturday night and then into Sunday, I was curious. I did get Dusty quickly on Sunday, and at that point, he was undecided, and that's pretty much all I had. And then I had to kind of go through other avenues as well. It was indicated to me that there might be a chance that before the end of, if I said Sunday, I'm sorry, I meant Saturday. It's Sunday is tomorrow. Again, what is time? Whatever, it's an illusion. And lo and behold, he picks Michigan here. And now people thought he was going to go to Louisville. I think Louisville was in a position where I thought it might be in the lead here. A little behind the scenes stuff is that Vanderbilt was actually a real player in this, more than I think people realized. But When you have Louisville coming after you and Michigan, and both of those offers are on the table along with Vanderbilt, then it's not that you don't have a choice, but those are much bigger programs. My understanding on this is always, when you've got Louisville and the pressure, it's a better program. To me, Louisville's a better job than Michigan. Doesn't mean you can't. Michigan's a very, very good job as well. To me, Louisville's a top 10 job in the country. Michigan's a top 20 job in the country. But there's not as much pressure there. And asking around on the Michigan job in the past week or so, one thing that was emphasized to me was whomever that Michigan was going to bring in, the personality could not be bigger than the program itself, especially coming off the Howard stuff. Not that Howard had this huge, immense personality. In fact, he was not media friendly whatsoever, but he carried obviously a lot of significance within that program. But they don't want anyone messing up with football. Let football do its thing, get out of the way. You have success at Michigan basketball. They want you to have success, but don't step in the way of everything, all the attention that's going there with football. I think not having as much pressure, probably being at a slightly better entry point in terms of what May believes of what Michigan is now versus what Louisville is. Louisville, they both coming off terrible seasons. But Louisville's coming off a worse one. And the Big Ten maybe having, a little bit more financial flexibility, being, in a $1 billion multimedia deal with an 18-team league. I can make cases for Louisville over Michigan, but this is the route that he chose. I thought both of them fit him well, frankly, and we'll see if it winds up being the right choice here. My understanding on the Louisville job, though, is like Louisville's not hurting with NIL. Like Louisville will have, as I understand it, Louisville's job and everything that from an NIL perspective that will come with it is going to be as competitive as essentially almost any other program that's out there heading into this portal recruiting cycle upcoming in this spring and summer. So that's certainly something to keep in mind there as Louisville now moves ahead. And real quick, just as an aside for that, in talking with a few sources on Saturday night, Shaheen Holloway of Seton Hall is a name that is very involved in there. Amir Abdur-Rahim of South Florida is a name that is involved in there. And there will be others that bubble up. I think Pat Kelsey is someone that is going to get involved there. And then I get curious on guys who I don't know if Louisville has like reached out to yet, but I almost wonder, like Mark Pope. He went to Kentucky. I think he might be able to thrive there. Maybe Musselman comes back around. I'm not entirely sure. His name was like kind of attached to it early, but that was never really real. We'll see on Louisville. We'll update that further down the road. But Dusty to Michigan now. This move, Cobb, is going to catalyze other movement. Basically, what was happening here was whenever FAU lost in the tournament, there would be quick movement on Dusty May. And the expectation was within 48 hours of FAU season ending, we would have an answer on May. That is indeed what happened. And so now Louisville search takes a certain direction. And then other schools that are kind of tertiary to all this, what will Vanderbilt do now that, it wasn't banking on Dusty May, but Dusty May they were waiting to see if he was going to say no to that. Where does Vanderbilt go now with its search? And it's got a few names there that are very involved, and there are names that are still coaching in the tournament that are involved with Vanderbilt. The Vanderbilt opening and candidates there is attached to the West Virginia opening and candidates there, and attached to the Oklahoma State opening, and there are candidates there. So we are going to have a little bit of a cascade here over the next few days. Before we get off on this and start talking NCAA tournament, any other kind of thoughts on if you think Dusty May to Michigan is the better pick for him, and anything connected to this headline here on Saturday Night Cup?
Well, it's easier to win at Louisville in the ACC than it is to win at Michigan because Michigan's in the Big Ten and the Big Ten's tougher. So from that standpoint, I would have thought Louisville might be more attractive. I do have a question for you, though. Obviously, Michigan's a tradition-rich school. There's a great heritage of coaches there. I mean, Juwan Howard had some success. He followed John Beilein, who took him to a national title game. But one thing that Juwan Howard did was he struck an opposing assistant coach in the post-game handshake line. I'm curious, do you think Dusty May continues that, or do you think that'll just be something that was unique to Juwan?
A little too cynical here on a Saturday night, technically early Sunday morning, Cobb. No, I do not believe that will be the case there. Dusty May obviously carries quite a good reputation across the sport. Ironically enough, though, he was a manager for Bob Knight, and we are familiar with the late Bob Knight. We are familiar with the many things that are attached to Knight's legacy. One of them not exactly being the squeakiest, cleanest image there, but no, this is a big time image shift from everything and what the program had, kind of devolved onto, under Howard. There were obviously multiple issues, and even the circumstances under which he got fired were just, the Michigan's at a low here, and it needs someone to come in and adjust the program significantly. I got asked by Hakeem Dermish on CBS Sports HQ on Saturday night, like, what's success for Dusty May in his first contract? He's on a 5-year deal, by the way. And I would expect that deal. I don't have a figure for you right now. I would expect Michigan getting Dusty. I would think he's going to be around 4.5. Maybe his agent would have gotten around 5 or so. Success for me is minimum of 3 NCAA tournaments in a 5-year span, minimum, and not just squeaking in, but having room to spare, at least 1 second weekend appearance, and it's wild to say this because it's about to be an 18-team league. No 18, 17, 16, 15, or 14th place finishes. Not even in year one. You go in, you utilize NIL, and you try and catapult this. Dusty May is the best coach in FAU history. This team he just had, it is fair to say it underachieved. It was preseason top 10 level kind of team, got into the tournament, was overseeded, didn't win a tournament game, blew 3 or 4 games this season that it should not have blown. It was a good team, but that team with all of the expectations on it didn't handle itself well. And then down the stretch, Dusty May, when his name becomes an even hotter prospect, they don't even get to the American Athletic Championship game. And then they squander away an opportunity on Friday in Brooklyn where Janelle Davis thinks he's got 15 seconds when he's got 6 and doesn't even get the right shot off. And then they go to overtime and Northwestern wins and they take it away. So that's an overlook at Dusty Made in Michigan. We'll continue this stuff more as we drift further and further away from the NCAA tournament.